Hello, everybody. I am back. This is Primetime James Thomas, one half of the Primetime Gorehounds, discussing the Conjuring Last Rites trailer that just came out yesterday. Hopefully, everyone's had a great week. And yeah, man, the Conjuring back one final time. And I promised I was going to do a video for you guys. And here we are. Yes, indeed. Hopefully, you guys are excited as I am, because everybody knows I'm a big Conjuring fan. Before we get started, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want, you could donate to the Cash App, which is PrimePod313. Again, PrimePod313, where any donation to the channel would greatly be appreciated. And before I get started, if you haven't, please be sure to check out the most recent episode of the Primetime Gorehounds, where Paul and I sat back and watched the 1985 classic Back to the Future, which was a very, very fun stream, very, very fun video. Watching a great movie. Back to the Future can definitely lift your spirits up. 100%. But let's get into this about The Conjuring. Now, The Conjuring, I'm a pretty big Conjuring fan. When I say that, I'm talking specifically The Conjuring from 2013. It was one of the, I'm gonna forget it. I saw it for the first time, and it was a great experience. Me and my friends watched it. And it was like a bunch of us. It was like 10, 15 of us. And we watched it. It just came on DVD. Yes, DVD was still a thing back then. Well, maybe Blu-ray. And then it was great to watch. It's great to be. There's nothing better than watching a horror movie that is really good and everybody's screaming and yelling, hooting and hollering, and they're into it. Not like, annoyingly so where you can't hear anything. Not like, anyway. I don't understand some of these people, but it was, I really liked it. I still believe the first Conjuring is one of the best mainstream studio release horror movies in the last 25 years. I think it's right up there with the first Insidious. Now, like Insidious Chapter 2, I like The Conjuring 2. I did. I mean, both are, all four movies are directed by James Wan. I did like The Conjuring 2, not as much as the first one, but I really liked James Wan's horror sensibilities. I think him and Lee Winnell have terrific horror sensibilities. What I mean by that is, for the directorial standpoint and execution standpoint, their vibe, I mean, yes, it's mainstream, the guys show, but their vibe, they find that balance. And I find that both filmmakers have a nice balance of pleasing the studios, okay, we gotta show something, gotta do this, and this, but also still maintaining that level of suspense and intrigue and eeriness and slow burn. It doesn't peak too soon. I really, really appreciated that about both, all four of James Wan directed Conjuring Insidious films. The Conjuring Part 3, The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It, came out in 2021. Obviously, all these films are based on real cases, real things, real events that the Warrens investigated. And The Devil Made Me Do It was directed by Michael Chavez, I believe. Chavez. And I watched it, and The Devil Made Me Do It it's not a terrible horror movie. It's not a bad horror movie. It certainly passes the time on a Sunday or Saturday night. You got nothing to do, grab some munchies, and you watch The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It. But I am not a huge fan of that movie. And I didn't like, I think it's serviceable. but it did not have the same style and horror sensibilities that the two previous films had. And the heart of the film was there still. You got the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren. But and also it peaked way too soon. I say this all the time. One of the things that frustrates me, if you peak too soon I don't mean you can't have a great opening, but you could be Jaws has an amazing opening, right? And no one says Jaws peaked too soon. You could have a great opening, but if you peak too soon, and what I mean by that is it's more specifically in regards to The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It, is that the whole first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It, is akin to like the third act of most horror movies. It's wild, off the wall, bonkers, insane, special effects galore. It's just like, where do we go from here, right? And I'm of the mindset that if you peak too soon, visually, emotionally, then you have nowhere left to go. And I certainly felt that way with The Devil Made Me Do It. It just was, The Devil Made Me Do It's prologue, for all intents and purposes, would be the third act in most crazy horror movies. You know what I mean? And I was like, holy shit. So I'm hoping Last Rites doesn't do that. And it still builds and allows us to, take us on that roller coaster. It doesn't matter what roller coaster, like what film great horror movies are roller coaster, right? They take their time, they go up, 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 up. That means you can't have a great opening, but they just take their time, you know what I mean? So I watched the trailer about the first trailer 3-4 months ago. I thought it was good. I like this current trailer better than the one that came out a few weeks ago. I thought it was all right. There's nothing in it that makes me think this is going to be better than Devil Made Me Do It, but there's nothing in it that makes me think that it's going to be bad. It looks like it's playing the part. It looks interesting. It looks like it may be a better film than The Devil Made Me Do It, which is interesting. So, obviously, we're jumping 1986, and it has what? In the trailer, Lorraine realizes that this demon or whoever it is the original demon that, back in this early 70s and yada, yada, yada. And so it's an interesting sort of story there. And this is supposedly the last one. Unless it makes a lot of money, then it won't be. Then there was spinoffs. It'll be and Lorraine's children, or their grandchildren, but I think it looks good. Bloody Disgusting. We'll go to Bloody Disgusting here. Let me share the screen here. Bloody Disgusting. Here we go. The Devil Has Come to Pennsylvania, the final film in the franchise. Oh, well, we'll see. The Conjuring Last Rites is headed to theaters this September with Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson's kind of like a Scream King, man. Patrick Wilson starring in one last terrifying adventure. Watch the final trailer for the final installment below. Discover why this case ended it all in theaters on September 5th, 2025. The Conjuring Last Rites draws inspiration from real life Smurl family haunting. Now, I know that a friend of mine is a big fan of this Smurl family haunting. So, if anything, I hope you enjoy the movie if you're watching this, because I know you like this. Now, let me go on to Wikipedia, and this is what the film is based off of. I've never heard of this. I've never seen the TV movie, but this is from Wikipedia. The Smurl haunting refers to claims made by Jack and Janet Smurl of Pittston, Pennsylvania, who alleged a demon inhabited their home between 1974 and 1989. Now, before we get into this, let me say this: if you are living in your house for 15 years with a demon, that surprises me. I think the Amityville Horror and the Lutz family, I do tend to believe it was a hoax. But they played the hoax right. They really sold it. They bought the house, and 27 days later, or how long it was, they left their belongings behind and packed up a few things. And one night in a storm in a van, and they took off. And I still believe it's a hoax, and they're full of shit. But I will say that that's the way to do it. Living with a demon for 15 years somehow film a little counterintuitive to the whole. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But nonetheless, the Smurls claim and gained wide press attention by demonologists who encourage the family's supernatural beliefs and clergy, psychologists, and scientific skeptics. Hang on. This is not matching up with you guys. I'm not used to it. I'm not with this. But yeah, the investigative demonologists who believes in supernatural psychologists beliefs who offered more Paris where is that word? Parsimonious. That's a word I'm not familiar with this. Parsimonious. Chat, let me know. Comment section, let me know. Or I'm having a brain fart. I'm like, oh, that word. Yeah. Certainly not a word that appears that doesn't see it all the time. But the Smurls version of this story was the subject of the 1986 paperback title The Haunted, the 1991 made-for-TV movie of the same name, released by 20th Century Fox. The upcoming 2025 horror film, The Conjuring Last Rites, is probably based on the Smurl Haunted. And I also heard they take creative liberties. They take massive creative liberties, as one does, especially when you're doing a massive I'm just looking up how to say that word. But when you're doing a massive paranormal type supernatural film, parsimonious. That's the word. That's the word. I was having a brain fart there. Parsimonious, but I don't say that word too often. But I'm sorry, but if I had just gone the I had paranormal in my brain as we're talking about the paranormal, so I'm thinking parsimonious. If I had just went par, I would have gotten immediately parsimonious, of course. God damn it. But anyway, that's based off the real story. And so again, like I said, I'm glad they're taking some massive creative liberties, and understandably so. But one could argue and say that you could actually make a ton of these movies, really, in reality, right? Because there's so many case files and so much stuff, and if these movies continue to make money, then they will. And let's not forget, this will likely not be the last one. It may be the last one for a while because it also I don't know if Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson signed on a multi-picture deal. I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I have no idea. But they also want to go off and do other things. And fast forward 10 years, 15 years, and they could 20 years. They could do a legacy sequel. I don't know. If it doesn't do well, then it definitely will be the last one. If it does really well, then it probably won't. I thought the trailer looked all right. I thought it looked all right. Looks like a Conjuring film. I have to go back and watch the trailer for the first Conjuring, and again, to see sort of the vibe of that trailer. But for me, like I said, these kind of horror movies are never going. It looks like it could be a lot of fun, a fun, entertaining time in a theater for sure, hands down, absolutely. And I will be the first, when I don't know if I'll see it in a theater, but when I watch it, I will absolutely, I'm always going to be honest, and I want to like these films, but it's hard for me to like. It's very easy for me to like the first one or two installments of a lot of series and franchises, because they tend to, unless they're right out of the gate gratuitous, like over the top film, like, you know, like a Terrifier. But The Conjuring, Insidious, you know, a lot of movies, like the first installment, the first two installments, I'm usually always on board, because it's more, especially if, you know, James Wan, right? The first Saw, you know, it usually falls within the wheelhouse of my kind of horror, right? But unfortunately, the longer these series go on, the more sensational they get, right? And it's hard for me to get excited when you hit part 5. Although I will say, I was, much to the surprise of, I think, everybody, Insidious: The Red Door, I actually liked a lot better than I was going to. I heard it was catastrophic dumpster fire, but when I watched it, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it at my home. But when I watched it, I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not great. It doesn't hold a candle to the first film, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But also, I think a large part of that was because not necessarily the story, but more just appreciating and seeing the family unit back together. And it wasn't just, you know, a 22-year-old actor playing the same character. It literally was the same actor who played 10-year-old Dalton in the original Insidious. It was the same actor. So there's a believability, there's and a tangibility to, and a connection to that, because it's always great when you can get that same actor, because it feels more real and authentic. And so I appreciated that. So seeing that family union, Rose Byrne, Patrick Wilson, and I forget the actor's name, the guy who played Dalton, was kind of cool. So it was him. It wasn't just an actor playing him. It was him. And that's all. If you could do that, that's always cool. So I actually didn't mind The Last Door. It wasn't great, but I will say, the way it ended, it's over. It's over. Like, that family story is done. But of course, I think it made the most out of any Insidious movie, and they're probably gonna do another one. So, if you really want these franchises to stop, the very simple formula: don't go see the movie. Of course, you can't convince everybody, but it's true. It's if The Last Rites opens with $5 million at the box office, they're not gonna make another one, right? That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. It's all about money. It's all about the money. Doesn't matter how good it is. Doesn't matter how good it is. Of course you can't do that. But so I'm kind of like, I think I like these trailers more than the Devil Made Me Do It trailers. Again, I gotta go back and watch them, but maybe it's because of that. It's the final one, and there's some things in this trailer that I'm like, oh, that's a cool shot. Oh, that looks like that could be a really tense scene. Oh, I really like that. But I wasn't crazy on The Devil Made Me Do It, and it's the same director, and visually, I have no doubt it's going to be a very visually palatable film. But whether the story, and are they going to peak too soon? Like, that's what I'm worried about. Like, in the first 15 minutes of this movie, are we going to have some wild, crazy shit going on? And I'm of that ilk now. I'm 10 toes down, where I much prefer just more. Again, it's like, there's room for everybody at the table, of course, but whenever I see something that I don't want them to lose me in the first 10 minutes of the movie, because that can happen. That can happen. And I know people are making fun of me for it. Oh, James, you're so bougie. You're so stuck up. You're such a gatekeeper. Oh, James, it's just fun. But yeah, but I said it to Paul when we watched Nightmare on Elm Street a few weeks ago. It's like a wrestling match. It's like a modern pro wrestling match where, like, you do all this crazy shit in the first couple minutes of the match, then you have nowhere else to go later on in the match. Like, you start off the match doing flips and kicks and all that stuff, but in the final minutes, there's nowhere to go. You burnt out the fans by showing all the cool stuff. And it's like and you don't have to be a wrestler to feel that way. You could be a regular, film fan. But at some level, you have to be heavily invested into a specific genre or franchise, or where you really care, right? And most Halloween fans aren't filmmakers and they never have a desire to make a movie, but they're heavily invested into the franchise, and you care. It's that extra, I don't know, maybe I could, you know what I mean? So it's the same with me with the art of horror. I think there's room for everybody at the table, like I said, but I don't know, maybe it's my age. I'm in my early 30s, and maybe it's just that thing where I'm like, there's a lot of this kind of stuff, like when I saw that, like when Russell Crowe does the Pope, like the Pope's Exorcist, and he does another Pope's Exorcist or another exorcism movie. It's like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? And that Pope's Exorcist was bonkers. It was awful, off the wall bonkers, And like, I much prefer Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. And not because Sydney Sweeney is easy on the eyes. I mean, she clearly is. And she was great in that movie. She did show her boobs in that movie. I thought she was going to when they got into the pool kind of scene. I'm like, oh, here we go. But she got to show her boob, but she didn't. She didn't. Sydney Sweeney is yes, Sydney Sweeney uses her sexual appeal to draw you in, but Sydney Sweeney she's actually talented. She's actually a really talented actress. But it wouldn't have made sense for her to show her boobs. Although they could have found a way. But I really like that movie a lot. Again, it's more nuanced, more subtle, more psychological. And that first Conjuring film, the first Conjuring is about demons and things that go bump, 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 I mean, it's more, that first Conjuring film from 2013, you could say, again, is a very modern mask, general audience appeal horror movie. And it is. But the way I love Wan's sensibilities, where he didn't peak too soon. He took you on a roller coaster. You had to go through, the hide and clap in the dark and the photos crashing off the wall in the middle of the night. And what's going on? Like, you got used to the family and you became a part of the family. And it's dare I say, I mean, these movies are always been plot driven than anything else, but dare I say, a little bit of that character driven. It was a little bit character driven. I mean, not like Jaws, but you had that, right? And so that's why I've always say that it's one of the best mass produced, mass appeal, popular sort of filmmaking horror movie that of the last 25 years, because it's almost the best of both worlds, and it doesn't go all icing and it doesn't go all cake where people are, too pretentious, too stuck up, and it kind of hits that middle ground, and I think that's really cool. And people like me who really do love the more, elevated stuff can still appreciate it because it's there, it takes its time, yeah, you know what I mean? And the third act of the first Conjuring is like the first 15 minutes of Devil Made Me Do It. You know what I mean? In terms of the sensationalism and the effects and the crazy shit going on. And it's like, what the hell are we doing? So I'm a little worried because I didn't like that. So it peaked in the first 20 minutes. And I was kind of sitting there like, okay, where do you go? You never want to do that, especially with horror. Horror is about emotions. It's about taking your audience on a journey. It's about affecting, and it affects you psychologically, physiologically, and you don't want to deliver the goods too soon. So, but anyways, I digress. But I did mind the trailer. I didn't mind it. I thought, again, it's the last one. I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I will be pleasantly surprised and actually really like it. You never know. We'll see what the reviews say. I mean, the reviews for The Conjuring, like, you have to remember too. Let me look at the reviews for The Conjuring. I think it was like 70 something. 70 something. 86. Guys, That first Conjuring was 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what I mean? And there's reasons for that. It's not because of the demons. It's not because of the third act of that movie. It has nothing to do with that. The first Conjuring was 86% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes because over 100,000 rating because of the way it's delivered, execution of it, the story-telling sensibilities within the confines of the horror genre. It's slow burn, take you. We were all sitting there on the edges of our seat. We were invested. We were emotionally into the journey that we were on. And it didn't deliver everything in the first 15 minutes. And then we were just kind of just sitting there waiting for, I don't know, the bus or something. Like, it was so well done. It's like a roller coaster, right? When you're on it, like that gigantic roller coaster, like, and you're sort of like, oh, here we go, you know? Yeah, that's how you do it. That's horror to me. You play your cards right. You could really deliver something that audience and the critics, it gives you the best probability that the audience and the critics really like it. It's not because it has cool effects, because it took its time, you know, and it allowed to build and build. So the experience, horror movies should be experiences. They're experiential, especially great horror movies. Great movies are about the experience. And sitting in that theater, I'm pretty sure sitting in that theater watching the first Conjuring felt amazing. Sitting in that living room with my friends watching the Conjuring, it was an experience. Hell, me and Paul, when we watched Back to the Future, it was an experience. I mean, the first Poltergeist back in '82, different era, I get it, but same type of thing. It didn't peak too soon. You're on a journey. There's a bit of a character-driven side to Poltergeist, you know, as well, right? So then you look at The Conjuring Made Me Do It. What was the rating for that? It got a 56%. But this is surprising to me. 83% by the audience. That's surprising. With this, I lean more towards, I think it's actually appropriate, 56%. That basically means 5 every 10 critics. I mean, it's half, right? It's split. So when we see a 56%, you mean you don't want to have a 56%. But if you see that, it just means half the people give it a good review and half the people didn't. So I would agree with that. 56 seems about right. To me, that's how I felt. I didn't hate it. I was like, eh. You know what I mean? I just didn't connect to it like I wanted to. But there's reasons for that. So I'm hoping that this is different and that it doesn't peak too soon. And Chavez takes a little bit of a page of, you want to have your own style, of course. Takes a little bit of a page of out of Juan's approach, because I think that's more effective when you're doing these kind of things. You know, it's all about the payoff, man. Not the showing so much so soon. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We will see. But yeah, but let me know your guys' thoughts on let me know your guys' thoughts on the Conjuring Last Rites trailer. Are you guys looking forward to it? Did you guys like the trailer? The Conjuring franchise, or the Conjuring 1, 2, or Devil Made Me Do It? What was your first experience watching the first Conjuring? I still think the first Conjuring is still one of the best popular studio released, you know, general movie audience in the last 25 years, because I say that because it was mainstream. That's what I'm talking about. It was, you talk about, non-mainstream films and that can just spring up out of nowhere that are really great. But like when Evil Lurks and all that type of stuff, It Follows. But there's not a lot of mainstream audiences that, that gravitate towards a horror movie like The Conjuring did. So yeah, but let me know your guys' thoughts. Hit that like and subscribe button. And how do you guys feel about the trailer? Do you guys like it? Do you guys not like it? How you feel about the movie? How you feel about the Conjuring franchise as a whole? And I'm just gonna go ahead and get on out of here, guys. So yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for this quick little video. And hopefully it ends with a bang. But have a great day. Have a great weekend. And I am out, y'all. Peace.